I'm Dr. Joice Christine Bailey Lewis. I wrote my first novel recently, and I'm trying to give you a flavoring of what is in that book so that you will want to buy it and read it. I want to give you a story that symbolizes the joy, the fun, the laughter that occurred in my family amidst a lot of turmoils and a lot of difficulties. This story is about my uncle who went to church in the nearly nude. It's called The Nearly Naked Churchgoer. Uncle Charlie, my birth mother's brother, shared another child's story who is also in this book, who actually went to church without any clothes on. But Uncle Charlie awoke from a drunken stupor on Easter Sunday and found that his entire family had gone to church. Uncle Charlie never went to church. Even every Sunday he spent his day drinking and making his corn liquor and enjoying himself at home. He drank nearly as much corn liquor as he brewed. Charlie was a brute of a man. He was 6 feet 7 inches tall and was as broad as a horse across the chest. He was as shaggy as a sheepdog with black curly hair on his head, face, and chest. He had an oversized belly that jiggled up and down when he laughed. He laughed often and very loudly. When he determined that everyone had gone to church, he decided that he should go as well. Charlie had to find clothing to wear. The clothing he owned consisted of 2 pairs of overalls, 2 plaid lumberjack shirts, and a pair of brogan shoes. These items were not appropriate to wear to church on Easter Sunday. He had to find something more dressy. On the floor in the rag closet, he found a pair of pants. They were not his pants, but they were wide enough for his legs to fit into. He searched for a belt to secure the pants over his buttock and under his belly. There was no belt in the house that would reach around his girth. He found a rope. This he laced through the loops of his pants and tied it in front in a slip knot to accommodate duty's call. Now he searched for a shirt. There was no shirt in the house that he could get his arms inside. During his search, he found a coat. He liked the coat, a nut brown, but he couldn't tell whether it was a man's coat or a woman's coat. He tried the coat on. It fit over his arms, but the lapels did not meet in front. Nevertheless, he liked the coat and decided to wear it. Still without a shirt, he happened upon a very colorful tie. He liked the color of the tie, since they matched the color of the coat. Notwithstanding that he never found a shirt, he wrapped the tie around his neck and let it hang down his naked, hairy chest. After many attempts to fashion his tie properly, he gave up and tied it in a double knot. Now for the shoes. He tried to get his feet into every shoe he found around the house, but nothing fit. The weather was warm enough for him to go barefoot, and so he did. When Charlie had donned all of his wardrobe, he stood in front of the mirror and admired himself. What a fine-looking man I am, he thought. Several wardrobe malfunctions would have been obvious to a more sober person. However, Uncle Charlie did not disparage the juxtaposition of his wardrobe elements. He had on a nut brown coat, although it covered only his shoulders. Being bereft of a shirt was not deleterious, as the tie was very colorful. His pants were admittedly a little short, but since he was not wearing shoes, no one could tell how short his pants were from the shoe tops. It was getting late, and so he hurried to church. The church was filled to capacity, as it always was on Christmas and Easter. The church usher usually found seats for visitors and seated them ceremoniously. Charlie didn't know the protocol, nor did he wait for the usher to get over, being stunned by the spectacle standing before them. Charlie saw an opening on a nearby row and headed for the spot. He pushed his way across the people sitting in the row and found his seat. There he sat, wondering what joke had been told before he entered the church. As the congregation began to focus on Uncle Charlie and his attire, they gradually reacted in waves. The choir director had already lost control of her members. The children and teenagers were next to see the strangely attired giant enter the church. They began to laugh loudly, catching the attention of their parents and the other adults who were wondering what the matter was with the choir and the children. Soon the entire church, including the visiting preacher on the rostrum and the population of visitors, began to laugh. They let go with such hilarity that they not only laughed uproariously, but they stomped their feet and laid on each other's shoulders and laps. The visiting pastors held their hand before their faces and pretended to wipe their faces as they cried into their handkerchiefs. The men in the Amen corner tried to hold themselves together as they were the pillars of the church and needed to set the standards of behavior for everyone. They lost their collective composure and hooted and howled. The women in the women's Amen corner reacted in various fashions. Some appeared to faint, others ducked under the back of the pews, others sat there and cried. The church ushers noticed the women who seemed to have fainted and rushed to their side as fast as they could. They too were immobilized by the looks of Uncle Charlie's shirtless, hairy stomach and chest, his female coat, his short pants tied with a rope, his bare feet, and especially his shirtless tie. But Aunt Lurley, Uncle Charlie's wife, sat in the women's Amen corner, stared at her husband and asked herself, what could he be thinking? He knew he didn't have clothes to wear to church. Why did he come to church looking like that? Finally, she shook her head and acknowledged that if anyone would do something like this, it would be Charlie. She rose from her seat, excused herself from her pew, and started across in front of the congregation. She was a stalwart woman, having lived with Charlie for many years. Nothing could face her or make her lose her composure. As she